Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session of Inflow Communications Genesys Cloud updates. This is part of our Contact Center ongoing series of education, and we like to spend time working with our clients and non-clients, letting them know the latest and greatest things knowledge-wise with regard to Genesys Cloud. The topic of today's session is new features and updates. And if you know Inflow well, you know that we are flatly dedicated to education and ongoing communication with our clients. So coming soon, we have two more webinars on May 5th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Our webinar will focus on using Microsoft Teams as your PBX and what are your options. We've got a lot of inquiries about Microsoft Teams and integrating and using it as a PBX. So that'll be a really highly attended session, so register early. Also on May 11th at the same time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard, this will be a Genesys Cloud administration focused session on how to set up and administer divisions. And for those of you that understand roles and permissions, divisions is another subset, the way you can multi-tenant the environment and add another layer of control and access. So it'd be interesting if you're interested in that sort of process for your organization. Now, as I always say through our sessions, we have a short amount of time, 30 minutes today, and I sincerely appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. If questions arise or something piques your interest, feel free to contact us at the following toll-free number, or you feel free to send an email to contact@inflowcommunications.com. I often work with clients or non-clients alike pro bono. I have no problem sharing my information and knowledge that I've learned over the last 25 years with clients because I know how difficult sometimes it is to take the next step. So please reach out if you have questions during the process, and I'll stop throughout the session maybe once or twice to see if we have any pending questions. By way of introduction, my name is Chris Recio. I'm the Director of Contact Center and Advanced Applications here at Inflow. I've had 25 plus years experience and 5 years hands-on experience with Genesys Cloud, and it's a product that I really appreciate, and it's one of our leading products here at Inflow Communications. And alongside with me today is Luis Sauceda, new father. Welcome back, Luis. And Luis is our sales project coordinator. He does tremendous amount of work supporting our efforts here and focused on webinars and sales processing. And he has 7+ years. So Luis, if you'd like to say hello, now's your opportunity.
Thanks, Chris. Hello, everybody. It's good to be back. Hope you enjoyed today's webinar.
Thanks, Luis, and I appreciate your support as always. He does many things behind the scenes for us and for me in particular. So by way of our agenda today, this is what we will be covering. This is a high-level agenda. First, we went through our introductions, and I'll give you a little bit more information about who Inflow Communications is. We'll get into definitely Genesys Cloud's cycle of updates and a little bit more information that I hope you find useful. And so when we get there, hopefully I have a bonus slide for you as well that not a lot of folks know about, so hopefully it'll become handy for you. I will cover and we'll go into highly anticipated features. Now, there's a couple of features that have been long on the patient list for clients, and they finally have been released. And I'll give you a preview into those, and then we'll go into some latest updates and sort of how that matches with industry trends and things that Inflow Communications has been doing, I would say, in the last 6 months. And then we'll end up with a summary and Q&A. Now, by way of introduction, and before I get into our session today, I'm aware that I have quite a bit of slides that I have to present to you, and I do that with a main purpose in mind. After our session today, we always send out via email the slide. For those clients who may not have the opportunity to see the new features we're going to discuss or in any previous session, I will include screenshots of the pieces that I am speaking about so you have a reference material. So hopefully you understand my depth of slides and why I include those. So with that being said, we also include a link to this session as well. So you have the option to look at slides or to take a look at the video again. Now, who is Inflow Communications? For those of you that are just meeting us, thank you for taking time out of your schedule, and we appreciate your attendance. And Inflow Communications, we've been around for 11+ years, and we have a sole focus on unified communications and contact center solutions. We're not looking to provide you with everything under the sun, hardware related, but we are flatly focused on the operational value and software that we believe has great value proposition and flexibility for unified communications and more specifically contact center solutions. We're a ShoreTel, MyTel Platinum partner, RingCentral as well, and I purposely listed Genesys Cloud Gold partner last and highlighted it in orange. We were named North American Partner of the Year 2020 for Genesys Cloud, an accolade that we sincerely appreciate. And I would say we work very hard at being educated and being seen as a professional expert in Genesys Cloud. We maintain offices and employees across 10 states nationally, and we support over 200,000 endpoints and over 800 customers who have nationwide and worldwide global footprints. And if I can say anything about what we do here at Inflow Communications, we are maniacal about customer service. Part of customer service is not only supporting the products that you know and already own, but also helping you optimize that in your operations. So we do have a steadfast focus not only to the initial implementation, but ongoing support and helping you leverage your products in ways that you may not have seen before. Here is a list of a couple of clients that you may recognize these names. No doubt you recognize Domino's and Zillow. Zillow seems to be everywhere these days, and we're proud to have Zillow. And Zillow has recently moved over to Genesys Cloud, and we're super excited about that process because they're doing some really amazing things with the product. ThyssenKrupp, you may know as a worldwide provider of elevators and service, and then Driscoll's Finest Strawberries. So with that being said, let's get into Genesys Cloud and some of the latest features and updates. Excuse me. So I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview on the Genesys Cloud release cycle process, just so you have an understanding of it. With the architecture that is Genesys, Genesys releases new features and enhancements every Wednesday, like clockwork. It's very rare I haven't seen an update on a Wednesday, but if you're attuned to that and subscribe to it, you'll see the number of updates. Now, today's updates and our sessions will focus on some key operational updates. Obviously, in 30 minutes, we couldn't cover everything that's happening with Genesys, but I will cover some basic updates that are of operational interest for sure and have deep impact in the operational contact center. But here's some general thoughts about new releases. Many options and features and enhancements require permission updates. I think one of the biggest questions I get when a new feature is released, clients reach out and say, how do I get that? How do I get that? The first place to check is check your roles and permissions. Genesys doesn't, unlike other providers, just push a new feature on you. They make it available and then you opt in for the feature. So it gives you a little bit of control over which features you want to adopt. This is great when someone in IT or maybe a management person wants to inspect the new features and check it out before they actually deploy it. Obviously, there's always going to be some sort of sense of learning the new feature, and that's a great way to do that. So check your permissions first. I check every week, and whenever I get an opportunity, I set my permissions to inherit all permissions going forward, depending on the bucket. Extended features and some options may require a different license tier. So when we get into things like gamification and workforce engagement, if you're not on Genesys Cloud 3, but you have a Genesys Cloud 2 tier license, we can work with you to get you the features either through an add-on digital bundle and discuss sort of the options that become available. So if you don't have access to a feature, maybe that you have a license structure that hasn't engaged that, but most of the time you'll see in the release notes what are the prerequisites for the feature. Now, here's some information that might be helpful for you, especially if you're one of those clients who accesses the Genesys website and kind of keeps track of where things are. Items currently in beta often release at the end of the quarter within that beta cycle. Now, this is not guaranteed. What I think is helpful for me and for Inflow Communications is that we see a list of items that go into beta, and we're very attached to the roadmap presentations that we see from Genesys. And one of the things I always look for is when an item goes into beta, we have active customers actually testing those features. More than likely, those features, once fully tested, will be released at the end of the quarter cycle. So for example, if something went into beta in January, you could potentially expect to see it released no later than March 31st, which would be the end of that quarter cycle. So think along those lines and keep in mind that is not a guarantee, but it's certainly a pattern that I've recognized. You can subscribe to the latest updates via the Genesys Cloud website. That way you don't have to wait for sessions like this, but based on the interest in sessions like this, it looks like Inflow will be doing this quarterly to keep you updated as well, so you will have another process to get your updates. But you can also register for updates via the Genesys Cloud website and or through the admin portal of your org. So if you're already a user within your organization and you have access to admin, you should see on your far right-hand side a tab with an arrow pop out that lets you also subscribe, and I'll show that to you in a moment. And then keep in mind that features are often prioritized based on market trends and or feedback. Oftentimes something will be on the roadmap with a gentle ETA. Those things may change based on something else that might be happening with the company, the organization, or maybe just the needs by clients. But that's my way of saying be careful not to hang too heavily against the ETA. Sometimes those priorities will change based on other feedback and organizational needs, but timelines and projected release dates are not guaranteed. But for the most part, I've seen a consistency with Genesys where I do see them, especially when they go into beta. So giving you the view here, you can subscribe to updates using the subscribe button and hitting the link help.mypurecloud.com/release notes. Now, if you notice there, it's release dash notes. But here is a view of when you actually land on the release notes page. You can hit subscribe there to get your regular updates. And as I mentioned, every Wednesday you will get an email I get my email about 6 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning. I see the latest updates. It's sort of what I look forward to because oftentimes I have in the back of my mind things that clients have requested and that I keep an eye out for. Next up, you can also subscribe to the same release notes by using the Genesys Cloud admin portal page. And if you look on the far right of the admin page, there's a black arrow in this bar right here. I don't have it clipped in the image, but you can also hit the subscribe button there. Now that's through your org access. Now there's also a bonus if you really are interested to see what's coming up next. Features on deck will appear at this link, help.mypurecloud.com/features coming soon. Now, I sort of am maniacal about watching what updates are coming. I have a lot of trust and belief in Genesys, and I love seeing the new features because for me, it's not only the features, but what can I do with the features to help clients impact their business. So if you're not aware of this page, I have this bookmarked as well as my release notes page, as well as being subscribed. So I'm sort of maniacal about all the things I want to see. Items on deck that you see on Friday typically will be released the following Wednesday. So that's not a guarantee, but I haven't seen that fail me yet. Once they're on the features coming soon, I think Genesys has said, yes, we're releasing that next week. Let's give people that are interested a little peer into that. So hopefully that's helpful information. Now, the next piece I want to talk about is two highly anticipated features. These features requests have been around for a bit and they finally came out. And so let's go into some of those. One of the key items that clients have been begging for is the concept of manual assignment. You may know it as cherry picking the queue. Now, this allows you to manage interactions within a queue. And if you have the proper permissions, you can assign the interaction to yourself or you can assign the interaction to others. And if you look on the right-hand side, when you're assigning it to others, you can search for a user to assign it to. And here's a couple of users I have on my system for that assignment purpose. So they've made it really interactive and it's easy to get to. But check your permissions if you need access to this, and you may have to create a custom permission, especially if you want agents to have access or team leads. Usually agents don't get this level of access, but manual assignment is what it's referred to in Genesys. We all that have been in contact center for years understand this as cherry picking the queue, that sort of thing, or stealing a call. Now, another option that clients have been clamoring for is Genesys Cloud provides these fantastic analytics views. You can call it a dashboard, a historical or real-time view, but one of the items that is constantly enhanced, and I've said this for years, that before you think about any contact center solution, think about the analytics. And Genesys does not disappoint. There are plenty of data options for you to grab information and customize the data because at the end of the day, I don't think any contact center provider is going to give you the best reports. You're always going to need a way to customize it. And Genesys gives that to you in spades. And so here, when you're looking at your analytics views, look for new columns to customize. Genesys is constantly enhancing their analytics, and I see new columns pop up and views that give me other ways to sort and filter and find information. Now, the options will depend on the view. For those of you that are familiar with Genesys Cloud, you have the concept of queues views. You might be looking at DNS views. You might be looking at the interactions views or agent views. Because those data buckets are slightly different, check your columns because those columns will have different levels of information. So depending on how you're trying to report, look for the views and then look at the table columns to see what access you have. Now, this next piece is probably one of the biggest enhancements and the benefits that I think everyone's really going to appreciate. Exporting and scheduling options are now available in analytics views. I believe this came out in January, February at that point in time, but you can see on the right-hand side there, you have the ability now to schedule your export. And when you schedule your export, you have the options to also email. If you notice on the right-hand side, right above the blue arrow where it says email, enter email addresses, you can put multiple email addresses followed by a comma, or if you're using a wider process on your servers, you can also do it to a list, a distribution list. But this definitely gives you a different way to send custom reports. At the end of the day, most people that are managing contact center are distilling that data into smaller bite-sized chunks, either for executives, for agents, or for whoever needs to see the information. So having the email option here is what people have been looking for quite a bit. Now you can also format your data. If you've previously exported the information, you know that Genesys by default, everything is in milliseconds. So you have to convert it. And so at first that was sort of a hindrance for a lot of clients, but you notice on the right-hand side, the top arrow points to format durations in typical hours, minutes, and seconds, which is what most people are looking for. Now you also have the bottom arrow on the right, the ability to split the data by media type, include a summary row, and also exclude empty rows. A lot of times if you run a report and you have maybe 1 or 2 calls of activity, but then you have an hour or 2 with no activity, which for most content centers, that's not a reality, but in some cases, depending on the nature of your queues, you might have some blank spots. You have the ability to exclude empty columns to help sort of minimize your output. If you expect this is helpful, especially if you're doing data presentation as a summary to somebody. So you do have more options there to help you along that journey to getting your data in a more usable function or format. Now, lastly, you have output formats. You can send your data and your custom views via email and scheduling again in a PDF view or a CSV. Now this hasn't changed, this has always been that way, but I figured I'd point this out here that in my options here, in my history, when I send reports to someone that I don't want to change, I'll send them to PDF, but if it's something I want to sort, I'll do CSV. Anyways, it's nice to have options. So those are 2 features that have been hotly anticipated and waited for, and hopefully you have access to those now. If not, check permissions to make sure you have those, but those I think rely less on permissions than the others I've seen. So with that said, let's get into some latest features and let's talk about the trends of where contact center has been, but let me check with Luis to see if we have any pending questions. Luis, are there any outstanding at this point?
Let me check. Um, we have one.
Okay.
Let me. Can you assign interactions to agents that are not on queue?
No, it should give you an option that says the agent's not available. Again, as a test module, I actually went into to do an assignment in the first place, and there was no agent logged in. It would tell you there's no agent logged in. Hopefully that helps. All right, let's get into our latest features and updates. Now, before I dive into latest features and updates, you know that the industry has changed dramatically. And over the last, I would say 3 to 4 months, if you've attended any of my sessions, I've talked quite a bit about voice analytics and how the trajectory of what's required for QA and sentiment analysis has dramatically changed how we think about QA and what the uplift is for a supervisor. So Genesys has been very keen to keep track of what's happening in the industry, and I'm thrilled with the enhancements that they're offering. So let's get into some of the enhancements that I think are going to dramatically change how you might perceive how you go about doing QA. And first and foremost, QA and voice analytics is sort of the wave of the future, translating the conversation, giving us sentiment analysis, positive and negative feedback so that you can take better action. And now instead of having to chase data, data is presented to you so that you can actually get right to developing strategies. And I think this is a great transition, and it gives you as a contact center supervisor who may have heavy QA teams another way to get to the heart of the matter to develop strategies. Now, along with that, they have also started started deploying development and engagement processes to also automate some of this for you. And we're going to get into some details here, but voice analytics should not be a new topic for us if you've been with us recently, but voice analytics, transcription, and QA is a tremendous focus for Genesys now, so that you have truly an all-in-one best of breed solution. So the transcription services will take the voice files or the conversations, transcribe those into text that you can read, but in doing that process, it's applying sentiment analysis and giving you feedback on where the conversations are with positive and negative feedback. Now, with that being said, if you have already started using the transcript services with Genesys, you know that it came out at what I would call a flat structure, meaning it was giving you the feedback, but it wasn't necessarily allowing you to customize what you're looking for in the transcript as a way to drive your QA. So they've introduced the concept of programs as well as topics. Topics will allow you to create very targeted buckets. So if you're healthcare, you might have buckets for qualification and compliance of healthcare, or perhaps it's diagnosis and patient interaction. If you're collections, it's the things related to collections. So topics is going to allow you to really drill down to looking at the information and textual or context of the conversation that is specifically important to your business. I don't know a better way to say that. And then also there's multi-language support. So you have English, of course, Spanish, and a slew of other languages that have recently been acknowledged. Because Genesys has a global footprint, you can expect more of that as well. And the development and learning modules is part of this and kind of wraps it all together. So from an analytics and where the trends are industry-wide, Genesys has jumped on there and have been ahead of that in their process. And I think you're going to see quite a bit more coming out. If there's any indication from the roadmap discussion or session that I was on this last week or week and a half ago, you've got quite a bit of news to look forward to. So let's take a quick view here. You can see here, this is a conversation, and you can see that that blue arrow was pointed to our transcript. So you're getting verbatim transcript. On the right-hand side, you get your events and topics, and you'll notice that you do have a positive comment there that says, that sounds great. And on the left-hand side, you also get a scoring. So we've got 57% positive, 15% declining, and we can go into those topics to see what's actually happening in the conversation. Now, one of the things that the sentiment analysis and just the voice analytics does is it also pinpoints in the dialogue and the conversation above in the active call exactly where that event took place. So when you click on that little green dot, or when you click on the the verbiage that says that sounds great on the right-hand side under events, it will take you right to that part of the conversation. So for folks that have something that's an alert, you might want to drill right into it just so you can hear the sentiment or the conversation, get a better contextual value. I don't think you'll ever get away completely from listening to the conversation, but listening to it in snippets and getting sort of a real feel for what's happening really helps shortcut your process. So you can see this call here is 11 minutes and 24 seconds. It may not take you that long to actually evaluate the conversation. And then you can also do scheduling and coaching. So if during the conversation you recognize, well, this agent has done a great job, but there's a little bit I'd like to tweak them on, you can actually schedule a coaching session there. Now, along those lines, with transcription analytics, you can create programs. Programs are a compilation of things that might be related to a specific topic. So if you're a sales organization, you might have upsell opportunities, continuing education opportunities, or how they handle the conversation, which would be your topics. And when you create a program, you can see on the right-hand side here, you're going to include tags and a description. The tags are just the words that we're looking for in the dialogue conversation that are of particular interest for you and your program and what you're trying to target to. And here you can see I went into create a topic on the left side, and my topic actually has several tags for cancellation please. I want to capture the different ways I might hear that conversation. And you'll also notice to the left of that, there's the dialect, the phrases that are associated with this, and the programs that I'm associating this to. So it does give you a very specific way to target the conversation to meet your specific needs. Now, as I mentioned, multi-language support is something that you're going to see a lot more of, and I was happy to see that Spanish and French, and I love that they made a distinction between France French, and I left the word subscribe in there. I use copy and paste quite a bit, so I should fix that. And then also Canadian French, which can be vastly different. What'll be interesting to me is to also see how they break out Spanish, because Spanish has several dialects as well. And if you talk to somebody from Cuba and Mexico, they're not going to necessarily speak the same dialect as someone who speaks Spanish also in South America or in Spain. So it'll be interesting to see, but I'm really glad you have those options. And Italian and Brazilian Portuguese, the same thing there with Portuguese. You have Portugal Portuguese in that region, and you have Brazilian Portuguese. So I think they've done a really good job in really targeting that option. Now, performance and engagement. This is really how do we drive behavior, and let's get into this process at a very high level. Now, once you've done your QA process, the next thing to do with your reps is you can do coaching sessions, but you also want to assign learning modules. A lot of contact centers have their own curriculum for continuing education, some that get into emotional intelligence. How do I handle a difficult customer? Things of that nature. You can build and add modules, and there's also included modules with Genesys. Now, I need to do a little bit more research on the Genesys modules and see how those attribute into whether there's a licensing structure. So don't hold me to that yet. I will find more information. But I was really excited to see that I can build a module based on my own needs, and then I can turn the modules on to be auto-assigned or not. Now, when you actually build a module, you're going to give it your details and your description here so that as you're looking at the module here, you'll know what the description is. So if you're someone who's doing QA and you're manually assigning modules, you can know which one to pick up and which one to assign. Now, you'll also define your content, and your content could be multi-tiered. It doesn't have to be just one piece of information. You might have, here's an intro conversation. We want you to follow this link and listen to the conversation. Now here's the transcript, and let's have you answer some questions. It really depends on what you're trying to build out. And then lastly, when you hit the auto assign, you have options to assign multiple rules to include the module either based on skill, a queue, a division, or a group. So it gives you, and I want to point out the group because the group is something not directly attached to contact center, although we think of queues as groups, but there's groups inside the system which are more UCAS facing. But the fact that you can build your own modules means you can tailor the module process directly to your business, your use case, etc. Now, once a module has been assigned, the agent will see in their pop-up there in their inbox, they will see that I have an assigned module, and this one's called new module. I wasn't very creative this morning, but the recommended completion date, I give a cycle. When you assign the module, you also give sort of a time window where the agent is required or at least recommended to have that completed. So if you're tracking, skilling up new folks, that sort of thing, or if it's just enhanced training, you can have a little bit more feel for what's happening and who's completing those modules. Now, with that being said, we can go into a lot of options, and it does take quite a bit for us to work through with you on the module. So I'm going to end this here. We have a few minutes left with the summary and QA. I think the most important thing to realize about Genesys is that you have open-ended access to subscribe to weekly updates and notifications. A lot of times you look to your partner like Inflow Communications to provide this, and this is why we're providing this webinar, and we plan to provide it on a quarterly basis as well. You can also subscribe to the weekly updates through the websites that we previously mentioned. You can go to help.mypurecloud.com/release-notes, and then also features coming soon. New features are released every Wednesday, and don't forget that some features, when they're made available, you may need to look at permissions to roles and people to assign the permissions to new features. So always check that first before saying you don't have access to the feature. 9 times out of 10, you do have access to the feature. You may not have the permissions, but also some features may require a different level of proper licensing or tier support licensing. So if you're a Gen Cloud 2 tier license, you might need to bounce up to Gen Cloud Tier 3 licensing to get the full workforce engagement. And those are things that we can work with you through. So reach out anytime you have a question regarding that. And then it's really about expanding your options. I think Genesys does a fantastic job on a weekly basis The amount of information enhancements that I see on a regular basis is sort of astounding. Considering I've been in the industry for 25 plus years and worked with several manufacturers, I don't see such a dedication to enhancements that I do with Genesys. So be on the lookout for those. Register and subscribe where you can. And this session will be, and the presentation will be sent to you after this session. And if you have questions, feel free to call us at the toll-free number or send an email to contact@inflowcommunications.com. Even if it's an off-topic discussion, that's fine. Or if you'd like me to walk through my org and some of these features and how they work, I'm happy to do that as well. You do not have to be one of our clients. I'm happy to help anyone that's just looking for direction and assistance, because I do believe helping people get further helps them remember Inflow Communications. So you may come visit us 5 years from now, which is fine with us. That being said, thank you for taking 30 minutes out of your day today. I really appreciate the time that you've broken away from your contact center operations. And in future sessions, let us know if you'd like to see more IT focused updates. We do have a lot of IT folks that are interested in technical updates. I kept this sort of operationally focused, which is benefit to a large degree of our clients, but I'm aware that we have IT folks. So sound off by sending us a contact here or calling us, um, and we will reply appropriately and provide a strategy that works for everyone involved. And thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your week.